Welcome back again, Mama Bears. We have hashtag Training Tuesday, and I am Hillary from Mama Bear Apologetics, and with me is
Elizabeth Urbanowitz from Foundation Worldview.
Amy Davison, also from Mama Bear.
Lindsay Menwalt from Mama Bear Apologetics.
So we've got a good collaboration to make this quarantine time, hashtag quality quarantine with your kids. And so we want to be talking about the things of God, but we also want to be talking about the things of being a normal human. And so there's a lot of skills that we've noticed that maybe kids have stopped learning how to do. Everything's so busy that they just forget, oh yeah, I should probably learn how to do that. So today we're going to be talking about doing laundry. And it's going to be kind of tying in with the theme that we have yesterday for Movie Monday. We talked about the different types of love that we see in Frozen. And so today we're going to talk about how could something as mundane as doing laundry actually show, it's like when we talked about practical and sacrificial love, how is something as simple as doing laundry showing sacrificial love? I would say not only on the parts of the moms, but we're going to be talking about how do we train our kids to do this? How do we get them to see that this is a valuable life skill? We're not going to be here forever to do it for you. And how can they see it as a way that they can love sacrificially as well from both a boy mom and a girl mom perspective? And then Elizabeth is going to take us through some of the ways that she used to train some of her real little kids back when she was an elementary school teacher. So you're not just throwing them a how-to manual and saying, hope you don't screw it up, good luck.
And the washing machine breaks.
Exactly. Because that's what you don't want to happen. So Amy, what are some struggles? What are some the struggle is real that you've had with trying to teach your kids how to do laundry?
Yeah, so my boys are just starting to get old enough to where we're starting to practice this sort of thing. And honestly, it's so funny because it reminds me of a story of my husband when he was little. They were stationed in Italy, and so his mom would dry her jeans by holding them near the fire. She would put them on a chair near the fire. Well, he was little, so he thought he would help mom dry the jeans faster by chucking them into the fire. And so she had to try and stomp them out one time. He was real little, but I mean, it just reminds me of boys is like boys can sometimes be a little overexcited with their helpfulness. And so with my guys, it's, we have to just go through the processes step by step and show them, okay, it's not how much can I cram into the washer. There's sorting. Sorting has a purpose, so all the shirts aren't kind of pinkish in hue or the whites aren't super dingy. It's all about balance with the soap as well. We have to be careful that, just because the washing machine fills up with bubbles, that may look like fun, but it's not the greatest to clean up. And so with boys, it's about intentionality and okay, there's a reason we do this. It's not just do it as quick as possible so you could be done and get back to things. So
I'd like to bring the fact that it's like boys are really good about making anything a competition. So
oh my gosh,
just be aware of this, if they think, well, she only puts that many, I can cram more.
Yeah. Why do 2 loads when you can do 1 load, by stuffing it all in, So yeah, that's with them.
Maybe teaching them a little bit of patience, not just sacrificial love, but patience to do things the right way would be a wise thing to add in there. So
absolutely.
Lindsay,
Yeah, for me, my experience when I was little, we were missionaries. And so I learned how to do laundry while living in Mexico. And we didn't have running water. So we actually had, and I'm not making this up, we had
all the shame here. We all sound like princesses.
With a washboard. And we used a washboard and a bar of soap to wash our laundry.
Wow.
So I had to learn how to do laundry twice in my life. My kids learned once, and they should be very grateful for that. We divided, by age. Our 12-year-old does her own laundry. You need to put your laundry away. It's in her basket. It is what it is. If she wants to wear wrinkled clothes, that's on her. That's a life lesson that she'll have to learn. And I'm just slowly allowing them to fold towels the way that I like to fold towels. My husband and I fold differently, right? So kind of finding the balance, but realizing that this is really do a lot of the chores around the house. But each week we cycle through what their responsibilities are and finding a balance between what the 6-year-old is expected to do versus what the 9-year-old versus what the 12-year-old should do, and recognizing that not all of them will do things the same way, and that's okay. And saying, as long as you tried, and maybe helping them find better, more effective ways to do it, so long as they're not breaking the machine. Because washing machines. I can read a manual, but that doesn't mean that it'll work.
Yeah. And Elizabeth, you had a way that whenever you were training some of your little elementary kids that I thought it was like it was the difference between kind of telling someone how to do something versus training them. So why don't you describe that process?
Yeah, because a lot of times I know from just different parents I've seen, sometimes they might feel like, well, it's just quicker if I do it myself. You know, like my kids are going to mess it up. Like it's just quicker. And then moms and dads just get like overrun with all this work, and kids, you know, like aren't part of the team doing this. So one thing I realized several years into my teaching experience was that in order for my classroom to work well, like everybody needed to have a job just to keep it running well, because I couldn't do everything. So whenever I would divide up jobs, I would actually have the students come in for recess, not the whole recess, but for 5 to 10 minutes of it. And they had to the first day, they just watched me do the thing. Like I would just model it for them. And then I'd say, okay, tell me what you just saw me do. And then the next day, we would do it together and we'd talk through it again. And then the third day, they would do it on their own. And so just this training up front, just like saved me like hours of headaches in the future, because I invested that half hour, you know, over those 3 days, really training them to do it well. And so then they were able to do it. So just to encourage you, like if you've either haven't trained them and they're already doing it and they're not doing it well, or you're just going to start, just to invest that time, you know, however long it takes for them to be able to do it well, because then you're going to save yourself hours of headaches down the road. Because if they're already doing something they're not super fond of, and then you're like, you didn't do it right, you know, that's just going to start, you know, disagreements within the home. So just to invest that time on the front end to train them well.
Yeah. And also be aware of it. I don't know if I'm trying to remember if I did this, I might've done this, where you realize that if you do it bad enough, then they'll stop asking you to do that. To be aware of
that's in so many shows.
It's like maybe in this training time, you're still saying, oh, you didn't get it right, so I'm going to stand here and watch you do it again. And so they don't get the idea that you'll just go ahead and do it if they don't do it. And I think, you know, sometimes our lives are just so busy that we don't have time to do that. But guess what? We've got the time right now. So we're going to utilize it.
Even just the biblical connection, you know, not just that we're like shoving scripture down our kids' throats, but we talked before, you know, like just about passages about like humility and love, and not quoting them at our kids, like you should do your laundry because it makes Jesus happy. Like, no, but like actually genuinely thinking like, what does a biblical worldview teach? And if you look in the second chapter of Philippians, you know, the first few verses there talk about how Jesus humbled himself, you know, like the God of the universe, like came down and was serving us. And so, you know, like that's one of the ways that we reflect him, by serving others in our family and by being humble and obedient. So just to take that worldview perspective in there.
Yeah. What was it you said, Amy, about the foot washing?
Oh, well, and that's what was so neat studying about when we were doing our podcast on slavery, is Jesus humbled himself and he washed the disciples' feet. Well, that wasn't just like, ew, gross feet, you know, it actually was a lot deeper than that, because back then you would, people owned slaves. They would have Hebrew slaves, and then they had have slaves from folks of other nations. Well, the thing was, the Hebrew slaves, they weren't supposed to do jobs like that because that was beneath them. But yet you see Jesus doing the exact job that no good Hebrew would have ever done. And I think that can be really encouraging to a lot of kids, is seeing that Jesus, he not only humbled himself to a Hebrew slave status, he humbled himself to the lowest of the low status to go and serve others. So, you know, he washed their feet. We can show this love for our brothers and sisters by washing their socks, you know, which is can be pretty gross. I love you so much. I don't want you going outside of the house smelling like cheese. You know, that's how we can do things.
So that is our just short little training Tuesday today. So if you start doing this with your kids, or if you start trying to do this training with your kids, go ahead and send us pictures. And if something horrible happens, like, you know, the suds everywhere, then definitely send us that picture too.
Yes.
So we will be back tomorrow with Worldview Wednesday. So I hope y'all are doing well. Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.